Hi, Sarah. I gather you're moving on to pastures green, so I thought I might say a few things about our working together over the last few years. Mostly, I would say, through the section of oncology, where you gave me enormous support as chair of the section, and particularly through the BAUS cystectomy audit, where you, me and Ed Rowe were looking at that data for a number of years. And the huge amount of work you've put into this audit, I don't think any of us can really express our gratitude for all that you've done. I think the number of publications that you have to your name is more than most urologists. So that's a testament to how much you have done there. Thank you so much for all the times you've reset my password as well. That must be very annoying. And thank you also for your straight talking, quick-witted approach, which has always kept me on my toes. I know that you have a love of the outdoors, which is a passion we both share. And I hope you're going to be able to get out and about this summer, which is most truly deserved. All the best, Sarah, and I do hope our paths cross again in the future.
Hi, Sarah. Congratulations on your planned retirement. We're certainly going to miss you. And many thanks for all the amazing work you've done for BAUS, but particularly for the 4 years between 2012 and 2016, when I was very much involved. You were a tremendous help, partly with the registries and particularly with the publication of the surgeon identifiable data. But it was more than the statistical advice that I appreciated. It was the common sense that you put into meetings that was most helpful, and for that alone you will be greatly missed. So enjoy your retirement, you certainly deserve it. You're going to be a very hard act to follow, but really well done. Au revoir.
Sarah, I can't believe that it is over 23 years since you joined us in our newly formed section of oncology.
Patricia Hagan, who put an enormous amount of effort and time in trying to assist the members in delivering the data and dealing with HQIT in such a short timeline. Sarah has decided, like many of us, it's time to seek pastures new, and I'm sure that BAUS will formally recognise her immense contributions. But on a more personal note, I just wish to record my sincere thanks to Sarah for all her fantastic help, as she was a real credit to the association, and wish her the very best for the future.
Sarah, what a pleasure and a privilege it is to record this for you. Thank you so much for everything you've done for BAUS over the last 20 years. You've been absolutely at the heart of BAUS's activity and some really groundbreaking work. I particularly remember my time when I was in charge of oncology and we did the Stuka study and nephron-sparing surgery across the nation. And my own favorite, the National RPLND audit. They were all really fantastic studies and they were impossible without your advice, input and steerage. And thank you particularly as well for all those moments where last-minute requests for graphs, data, slides and everything else that so enhanced presentations wherever we were giving them. You always came up with the goods, always smiled, and always came up with information that provided fresh insights into urology. So it's been a wonderful contribution, well done, and best of luck with everything you have planned for the future. Good afternoon. A year like no other. A year dominated, of course, by the virus. Who would have thought that 100 nanometer diameter microbe could cause such havoc and impact absolutely everything in our lives? Whether you're a mother, father, son, daughter, patient, surgeon, trainee, researcher, manager, executive, or student, life has been very different from the one envisaged or planned for. The BAUS President's Year has been very different too. Here's the presidential wall chart for 2020 to 2021, and the dots are the occasions when I would have been representing you somewhere in the UK or across the world. And unsurprisingly, this is where I've actually been, what I've been doing. The only trips, those on deserted trains to London Waterloo. And for commuters, this has been one of the strangest things of all about the pandemic, the empty trains. It matters little, though, what one had envisaged, because clearly in any leadership role, you play the hand you're dealt. Only in this hand, the royal cards wore masks. There may have been no trips, but there's been no shortage of work. Plenty to keep the BAUS president on his toes. Plenty to occupy the trustees, the execs, BAUS council, the sections and the administrative team, with everything thrown into a melting pot of diverse themes, at times defined by a totally new lexicon. It's definitely felt like it's a time of change. One isn't, of course, on sabbatical as the BAUS president. The day job carries on. And for me, the day job in the pandemic has thrown up some extraordinary challenges. Here are the 8 cardiac renal tumors we operated on at Guy's between December 2020 and March 2021. We've never done 8 cardiacs in a whole year before, let alone in 4 months. Each one, of course, a serious test of one's mettle, but actually, in truth, a pleasant distraction from the interminable Zooms. Something to keep one grounded in why you became a urologist. Not a bad thing in the pandemic. The impact of the pandemic on urological surgical volumes has, of course, been huge, even in the areas that were prioritized. Here is the data for kidney cancer operations. 1,300 fewer operations, and that's about a 20% reduction across the year. And for bladder cancer, about a 15% reduction. For prostate cancer, it's been a whopping 30% reduction in surgery. Almost certainly clinically appropriate, but a big reduction nevertheless. I don't have the data for stones or andrology or continence, but as all urologists know, the impact in these areas will have been even greater. The pandemic has, though, accelerated innovation. For the first year ever, transperineal prostate biopsy was performed more commonly than truss biopsy. This has to be good news for patients and for a BAUS president, who in his presidential manifesto of 2018 laid down a challenge for the UK to be the first country where TP became the default. We're getting there. As a centerpiece of this talk, this lunchtime, I want to highlight the work of 3 people who have all made huge contributions to BAUS and who are all leaving the fold this month. They are. Asif Munir has been handed a brief like no BAUS secretary before. He has delivered 2 completely new events, the virtual BAUS congresses, and he has done it quite brilliantly. No template to work with, no comfortable knowledge of what has worked in the past, no possibility to retreat to the familiar. Totally new. Of course, he's had help. He's had superb help, particularly from Harry Heald. But make no mistake, this has been a complex brief, expertly delivered and at profit. Asif, well done. BAUS Congress will never be the same again. Ollie Wiseman steps down as honorary treasurer at this Congress. He has done a fabulous job too. The BAUS finances were rocky 2 or 3 years ago, seemingly locked in a downward spiral of decreasing income and increasing costs. He, Nick Watkin, Linda Sizer, and the BAUS execs have turned it around. And that's hugely to his credit. Growing income with new initiatives through sponsorship of the Innovations in Urology and Controversies in Urology online programs, fashioning the same surplus from the 2020 virtual meeting as we saw from the in-person event in 2019, limiting the financial fallout from cancelled Congress bookings, and relentless control of costs. Money makes the BAUS world go round, and it allows us to do what we want to do. Ollie, thank you for doing such a fine job as treasurer. And finally, to Sarah Fowler, who has been at the heart of BAUS data and audit for over 20 years. It's no exaggeration to say that everything BAUS has done with data and audit has been engineered by her. It's an incredible contribution through the presidencies of Bramble, O'Reilly, Mundy, Fawcett, Joyce, Joyce again, Speakman, O'Flynn, Summerton, and myself. Difficult to sum up in one slide Sarah's contributions, but here I've tried. Above the timeline are the projects at BAUS. Below the timeline are the political moves and maneuverings which often directed what we did. It started with the cancer registry, moved to the complex operations registry, gathered pace with the IOG, and took on a whole new significance with the mandatory reporting of outcomes in 2012. Publications galore have resulted, culminating shortly with the release of the standards in urological surgery documents later this year. The data has influenced practice and has driven up standards. Some things for urologists in the future will be easier, such as appraisal. No longer will I have to explain why my transfusion rate is higher than average and my length of stay longer than average. Relief for me there then. But Sarah, on a personal note, thank you for all the help with the studies we did when I was chair of BAUS Oncology. It was wonderful to do things that had never been done before. And I'm sure I can say this on behalf of all the urologists who've given talks and presentations around the world for BAUS over the last 20 years. Thank you, Sarah, for making that possible. Which is comfortable segue into the future of data and audit at BAUS. And that future is going to be through routinely collected data under the Nsip program. Huge thanks to Andrew Dickinson and Louisa Hermans, who've patiently but relentlessly negotiated on your behalf so that urology is to be the vanguard specialty in the national program. Why do we like it? Well, it will include a far greater range of operations than the ones on dendrite. It will include operations by far more members of BAUS. It isn't limited by surgeons entering their own data. It gives the opportunity for follow-up, and it will be less work. It looks very promising. Contact Louisa if you want to know where your unit sits in the program. Core steering groups of BAUS have undergone a major overhaul this year. We've already welcomed Susan Willis, Gurpreet Singh and Lisa Dodgson to the fold, and Iqbal Shergill and Joe Phillip join in July. Congratulations to both of them. It's been wonderful to have such a wide range of opinion and totally fresh perspectives of trustees. A special word about Lisa. She's the first ever non-urological trustee at BAUS. Her background is in business, pharma, marketing, sponsorship, and it's already been incredibly valuable in our discussions. She brings a totally fresh perspective. Lisa, thank you very much for giving up your time to help us to reshape BAUS. Changes too in the core team at BAUS. We've expanded the events team with new recruits, Annabelle and Athene, and they've already done a great job helping curate this virtual Congress. Last month, BAUS moved into a new home. The rather tired facility in the Nuffield building is no longer. BAUS is now located in state-of-the-art new offices in the rebuilt Royal College of Surgeons at Lincoln's Inn. Well done to the team for fashioning the move. Surely a great opportunity in a far more modern, appropriate space. And a good moment too for me to congratulate the whole BAUS team on keeping the organization operational through the pandemic. Totally virtual connection for a whole year has been a monumental challenge for everyone, but has been accomplished. The team is intact, programs have been delivered, and the future looks bright. Well done, Anne and Trish and everyone on the team. As the virus starts to be less prominent in our thoughts, I think we can start to look forward to the year ahead with some confidence. What will the post-COVID landscape look like? What are going to be our priorities at BAUS? Who knows? But Congress in 2022 will certainly have a different look. Clearly, there will need to be the option of attending as a virtual delegate, but we hope that BAUS 2022 will be a wonderful coming together, a reunion, if you like, for a totally different style of Congress. We have the chance to innovate as never before. Ian Pearce and Joe Phillip will be directing the event, and there will be huge emphasis on the networking that face-to-face meetings offer. Networking that is both orchestrated and impromptu. We'll give opportunity for research groups, trainees, SAS doctors, specialty fellows, clinical leads, medico-legal fora, TPDs, women in urology, international fora, Urolink students, and so many others to come together. I'd also pose the question, should we also try and raise some serious money for research by one of our closely affiliated charities, Congress with a Purpose? The event will kick off with a celebratory party on the Sunday evening. Welcome back to BAUS. In my presidential manifesto 3 years ago, I promised that we'd accept to post a from every unit in the country. And this is something we're going to deliver in 2022. I know it's something that Ian is very excited about. We want to hear from urologists all over the UK. Tell us something good you're doing. Tell us something you've learned. Share a problem, explore an innovation, float an idea. The floor is yours. Start preparing now. We think this is an idea that can make BAUS a truly national congress. One of the reasons we can rethink Congress is that we have rethought education with our online learning program. We want to build on that next year, improve it, sharpen it, widen the scope and bring in new faces and new speakers. I think the programs have been impressive. If you haven't partaken, then why not take a look at the BAUS website, at the webinar archive. All of the teaching webinars are now posted there. There are some terrific offerings. These webinars have been important for education, but important for our finances too, as we look to broaden industry support away from the singular support at Congress. They've attracted tens of thousands of pounds of sponsorship. And a good moment, I think, for me to thank the urologists who developed these programs, and also the team at BAUS, in particular Bev Tompkins, for curating them and helping urologists survive the moments of high wire tech. Also posted on the BAUS website are the BAUS podcasts. They've been a new offering in the last 12 months and have brought some fresh, up-to-date perspectives on current topics of interest. This program of podcasts will continue next year, and I think if you'd like to record one, then get in touch. It's a very good medium for communicating with others. This man got in touch in 2020, and by doing so, has changed BAUS. In the summer of last year, I decided to open up comms between the president and the membership by introducing a live presidential Q&A. Alvaro asked me what we were doing about SAS doctors. The answer, embarrassingly, was not much. But that is no longer the case. We started an SAS project, and it's been under the brilliant chairmanship of Nitin Chowdhury, and the project has flown. Siraj Natawala has been elected to BAUS Council. SAS doctors will now be included in the workforce report. We brought SAS doctors together through webinars. We've been inspired by wonderful stories from them, and we're helping people approach CSER. We're introducing a pilot mentoring program later this year. It has without doubt been one of the most enjoyable elements of my first year as BAUS president. I think enjoyable particularly because we've challenged and overcome some of the prevailing negativity that had hitherto dogged this field. We've opened up trustees at BAUS to non-medical members, and we plan to open up BAUS to non-medically qualified members too. Urology is a wide field. It includes people from a host of different disciplines who may want to contribute to urology and have a professional home in BAUS. This isn't a change that trustees can simply impose, and they wouldn't want to. It will be voted on at the online AGM in September. Make your view and your vote count. BAUS Council is undergoing a shake-up too, with our much anticipated and twice postponed strategic event at Cambridge in September. What will BAUS Council be discussing there? Well, for starters, two projects of great interest to me over the next 12 months. The first of those is framed by a question. Are we making the most of our international connections at BAUS? I think we haven't been, and we plan to change that. The plan is to bring IBUS, the International British Urological Society, into the BAUS fold, much as we did with BSOT a couple of years ago. IBUS is currently chaired by Joe Phillip, who's just been elected Secretary of BAUS. It seems like a wonderful opportunity to create what I have dubbed a BAUS International Forum, to coordinate our relationships with urological societies across the world. We have an extraordinarily plural workforce with connections all over the world. We want to build on that. A small working group has been assembled and will be meeting over the summer, but watch this space. If you want to contribute, then get in touch. And the second project is a digital project. Again, framed by a question. Is now the right time to develop a BAUS app? Why do I think that it is? Well, a year ago, we had no stream of digital content to populate an app, but that is no longer the case. Having delivered 2 virtual BAUS congresses, 4 different webinar programs, podcasts, courses, and numerous other initiatives, BAUS now has a flow of content to make an app a viable option. The risk currently is that a huge library of digital content goes unwatched and underutilized. An app might also be a catalyst for new digital educational initiatives, an opportunity to pull in new sources of funding, a tool for communicating better with the membership, and a platform for our voting. Lisa Dodgson, our non-urological trustee, is leading this project, and we meet with a digital consultancy shortly to work through the detail. If tech's your thing and this project excites you, then do get in touch. Cresswell, the BAUS Vice President, is leading a number of projects under the banner of Widening Participation. It's been illuminating to have Baroness Kennedy as our guest at this virtual Congress. And of course, her report for the Royal College of Surgeons of England is likely to reverberate widely. At BAUS, we want to be at the forefront of some of these initiatives as we broaden the playing field of urology. A presidential plug now for the Tough Clinical Trials Unit. It was an idea floated 12 months ago and a process initiated just 9 months ago, which led to 15 clinical trials units applying to be the partner. And the chart unit in Aberdeen was the one selected. 15 excellent projects were submitted for this Congress's Dragon's Den. By any measure, that has been a success. At the time of recording, I'm unaware which of those projects have been successful in the Den, but this summer isn't the finish of this project, it's the start. More opportunities will arise. We want the flow of ideas from British urologists to gather pace so that we can develop projects across the whole field of urology. I think it's a very exciting time for research in UK urology. A plug too for Tough. It's our charity in urology. They're supporting research, the Urology Clinical Trials Unit. They're supporting overseas scholarships, innovation grants. They're supporting so much in our speciality across the UK. And if you're not sure how to help Tough, but you do get on your bike at a weekend, why not get on your bike for Tough? We should try and make the bike to BAUS in 2022 the biggest yet and raise some serious money. It's been quite a year. New challenges at every turn. Truly a year like no other, and at times truly exhausting. But also a year not without opportunity and enjoyment. And in closing, I'll leave you with something that made me smile on one of those deserted trains trundling towards Waterloo. year like no other. Have a great Congress.